Revolution, NERDSoul. Late Ill Kid at OneYoungsta, holding down with that StreetGeek and NERDSoul. What is up, my people, today? Yeah, we've got a movie review that I wanted to get into with you guys. This one is a tough one for me to review, but I do believe that there is something to be learned, and this is a very important story to be told. And the film that I'm talking about is Birth of a Nation. The film about Nat Turner, chronicling his life and up to the revolution, where he led an uprising against slave masters in Virginia. It was one of the largest uprisings and most violent uprisings in history, in slave history, and they made a film about it, and a lot of it really hits home. A lot of it really is really important to see even now, but it's a hard film to watch. This film is a powerful film. It's directed extremely well. It's acted extremely well, and they show a good diversity in what life was like at the time. It's just that films like this are tough for me. They may be tough for you as well, so I'm going to try to get through this quickly without stopping too much. And just touch on the things that I thought were very important. In his youth, one of the most important parts that I found in the film's display of that is that the second that one of the slave masters or slave master's family found out that he could read, they immediately took him into the home and wanted to continue to teach him to read. But they only wanted him to read one book, which was the Bible. And the young lady that took him in was very adamant about that. He went to reach for, she had a library of books, and he went to reach for one of the books. And she was like, no, these books aren't for you. She had one book specifically for him, and that was the Bible. And being a Christian, it kind of hurts, because we can see right there where they lead him down a path to use the word to enslave. And this is any book, any text or something like that. You can either use these words to enslave someone or to free someone. And she taught him to continue to read the book, continue to teach him the only verses that kept people, or would keep people docile, subservient, things of that nature, without teaching context, because there's a lot of context inside of the Bible. It's not taught, but that's a whole another thing. But in the confines of this story, it was basically to teach him to be able to continue to maintain their hold over the minds of other slaves. And that's a very important part of how they broke down his mind to be able to break down others. Because when he became an adult, he continued on his readings. They had him preaching, of course, to his own, plantation about, praising the Lord, but, being good to your masters and staying in your place. And even to the point where they had him come and preach at other plantations, which is part of his life story that really set a lot of things off. But before we go further, you can find me at Black Hollywood Live. That's right, the first online network for African Americans. They do celebrity interviews, after shows, sports talk, geek, nerd, tech, all that, and it's extremely dope. You can find them on blackhollywoodlive.com, or you can check them out daily, or keep up with them from week to week on youtube.com/blackhollywoodlive. Another powerful moment in this film was when Nat Turner found his wife, which actually was up on an auction block, and he was with his slave owner, or his master, who was going to, you know, buy some slaves just like everyone else. And when she was up on the block, just the way they treated the gentleman before her, and the way they treated her and all of the other men that were looking at her and bidding on her. It's a very hurtful moment. It's a very powerful moment. It was hard for me to get through. I actually had to stop the movie for a moment and just, you know, wonder like how many women this happened to. And it's a tough one. This film is a tough film to get through. Even trying to review it now is, you know, you can tell that I don't have the normal zeal and zest that I normally do. I think that the story is important. It may be tough to watch, but luckily, or I don't know if you could say luckily, but the slave owner decides to buy her instead of the other slave owners that would probably be a little more barbaric than at least he was. And even when she was brought into the home, it just showed how much, or how scared she was, and how, you know, how defensive she was because of how she's been treated before. Because, you know, of course, at that time, you know, being a black woman was even more dangerous than, you know, just, you can't imagine. I can't imagine how it would be, and it was tough. And that's another moment that is very important in this story, and it really illustrates just the barbarism, how crazy it was at that time, and it really hits home what this world was like. But to speak about the last part that I think that is really, really important about this film is when that starts to go to preach at other plantations in effect to try to get the slaves to, I guess, stay in line for their masters. He sees things that he doesn't see on his plantation, because on his plantation, and I don't know if you can even say this, but slavery was different. It wasn't as, his slave owner wasn't as, I guess, as vicious, as angry, as, you know, just revolting as the other slave owners were. And when he saw the conditions that people were living in, the torture that they were living in and facing day to day, that's when I believe he realized that this book or this word, or, you know, and this is in any situation, your words can be used to either break something down or build something up. You can either enslave someone or free someone with the words that you're reading, with the words that you're speaking. And I believe he noticed that, and the trigger was when he was speaking to another, I guess you could say, preacher or pastor, but he couldn't keep an alcoholic drink out of his hand. But, you know, he was going back and forth with him over scripture, and to the point where he was actually beaten and whipped for speaking up and speaking out against the atrocities that are just going on. That led to him, you know, pretty much planning and leading an uprising against the slave masters in that area. I believe they killed something like 60, 65 slave masters, owners, families, all that. But I think that's the most important part with this film, is just to leave that, you know, you guys, you know, we talk about films, we get in the comments, talk about comics and stuff, all that, and movies and all that is great. But just remember that, you know, words can, you know, bring about a revolution, or they can bring about slavery, man. And this film really, really illustrates that. It's an amazing film. Of course, I have to give this film 5 stars. Even though it's hard to watch, I don't know if I can ever watch it again. And that's the same with like when it comes to films like that, it's tough for me. But, you know, you can free someone. You can free someone today, you can free someone tomorrow, and it means a lot, you know, when you say something that's helpful to someone. So, yeah, I think I'll leave it on that. It's tough to review this, but I think it's a very important story that needs to be told. So, before I bounce, I got to tell you guys to holler at me in the comments about how you feel about this film, about what it meant to you, What do you think it means even now? Of course, I'll moderate these comments a little heavier than other comments that I moderate because I know the type of things that this film can bring up. So, of course, holla at me. I'm going to holla at you. And don't forget to hit up ThatNERDSoul.com. That's right, you can check me out. All my videos are there, from the oldest, the newest, the latest, the greatest, and all of that. Then you can hit up shop.ThatNERDSoul.com and pick yourself up a t-shirt, player, and don't forget to get one for them playettes. Then come back here, like, comment, subscribe, and share that Nerd Soul. There's no better way that I can tell people that you like what you are watching. And my shout outs gotta go to LA, what up? VA, what up? RVA, you got my heart. And please be good to yourselves and be good to each other. And remember that your words can free people around you. They can free you. This, you know, at least for a little while, just be intent. You know, have a certain intent about your words. Be mindful. So, of course, that's me to you. It's a tough one, but I think it's an important story to be told. And of course, peace.